Performance Coach, because life is laughing. So that tonight, we're going to be talking about how your belief systems are your internal map. We talked about compatibility last week and about how sometimes people don't even consider if they're compatible with themselves. A lot of times I think that we meet with people and we hope that we're compatible, but maybe we don't even know what we want. And so your belief systems being a map, we're kind of just peeling the layers away, right? Because when your belief systems are your internal map, you may say you want one thing in compatibility, or you think you want one thing, but until you start believing it. Hello, Epic. How are you doing this evening? I missed you and I watched The Witch. It was good. It was very interesting the way that it ended. Because, in America, we always have these predictive happy endings. So, but yeah, I watched it. So I did. So, yeah, so now I'll watch one of the other ones you had mentioned, or I looked him up too on YouTube. So, yes, it was strange. It had you guessing. It did. So, yeah, it was good. It kept me entertained. Hey, Kim, darling. I'm so glad you're here. I hope you had a good day. I hope everyone had a good Monday. So we're going to talk about the belief systems tonight and how that's your internal map. Your neural pathways. When you could kind of think of your neural pathways as an internal map. I study this kind of stuff all the time, and I was just revisiting last night about how your your internal map goes there, how your glands are feeding everything, and all of this. I have to share that with you. But Jason Stillwell, things are going great this evening. I'm so glad to be here with you, good people. And we're going to talk about belief systems and your internal map, when we're going to link, fit in a little bit of that neuroscience and that kind of stuff, my jam. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing it on this evening. Because we talked about compatibility last week, just to catch you up. Jason, you were here on Sunday. So, yeah, for story time. So I did, like Luke had suggested, I do have y'all a little story. Ooh, a treat. I got y'all a little story to go with this one. Not a long story like the one yesterday, but I did throw in a little story in here. Okay. So we talked about compatibility last week and how we're attracted to people, places, and things, right? And learning our compatibility, and that if we find that it doesn't work for us, learning how to change it to a catalyst and learning how to navigate to where we do want to grow rather than strategizing on not having the same thing happen. Blueberries. Blueberries, your jam of choice. I really don't eat a lot of jam, honestly. I use a lot of honey meal, as they call it down here in Mexico. Meal. I love honey, but I don't eat a lot of bread. Every once in a while, I like a good croissant. Hello, Ryan Lee Cutts. How are you? Hey, Dad and Mike, how you doing? So, yeah. So just to catch you up, and we're about to get started, is we talked about compatibility last week and how we're attracted to people, places, and things. And we also discussed underneath that, right, the intention and motivation. Because a lot of times we intend for something, but we're not motivated to do what it takes. So we talked about the bar. Some of us have this bar so high. Some people think their picker's broke. And so either they've been settling, or the bar is so high when they think that the picker's broke, and maybe they can't even reach the bar themselves. So to judge compatibility, to figure out if we're compatible with something, it needs to match us, because we want, well, thank you, Dead Mike, because we want things to be mutual, right? So now, as like I say, we can peel the layers away. So that's what we're doing, is we're peeling another layer with the belief systems this evening. That's what we feel compatible with is fueled by the belief system, or what we do accept or don't accept. Good evening, Dr. Mark. How are you this evening? I'm sure they're good in Texas. I'm sitting near Mexico. I'm near Cancun, Mexico this evening, but I think they're all right in Texas. When Mama shows up, we can ask her. All right. So we're expanding about the belief systems being your internal map. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. And then, we're going to be aware of how your belief system affects what you want. What do you want? What are you going for? Because see, that's an intention and motivation. Is you may say, I want this, but if you don't feel worthy, and we'll feel worthy by if our energy matches. So Wednesday, we'll talk about who drew your map, and Friday, we'll talk about redrawing your map, rewiring those neural pathways, the things that, that have you jerking or not jerking or trying to steer and strategize and all of this to where you can calmly navigate where you want to grow, where you want to go. So one thought came to me, is that we don't navigate life by reality alone. I used to think that my belief systems were my reality. And some of it was, but some of my beliefs were catastrophic. Anybody here have catastrophic beliefs? Because they were catastrophic. I was always trying to strategize. I was always trying to anticipate. And I believed that I had to, Dr. Mark. What you're saying is very, very true, but sometimes the heart and the mind and the spirit aren't always in unison. I know. That's why I get on here and try to help us, because it helps me to help y'all too. I learn things all the time from you all, even. But it is true, when we're talking about alignment, a lot of people look at alignment as, oh, that's woo-woo. But, this gets us to where, because, when you listen to Dr. Joe Dispenza, he says that your mind and your energy have to match. That when you want something, you have to feel like you have it. A lot of the people who talk about manifesting talk about if you want something, you got to feel like you have it, because if you talk yourself out of it, and this comes from our beliefs, that internal map. So it's an adventure. That's why we call it the map, because navigating to yourself isn't. Angela, you're here already. So I'm so glad that you're here, because I know you're going to have some fabulous questions, so I'm glad that you're here. Mama is getting me messages on something else. I don't think she's giving me messages here. I just saw one, but she'll get here in a minute. So imagine, just picture this. Imagine trying to drive across the country with an outdated GPS. This is what your belief system, your neural pathways, sometimes what worked for us in the past may not be working for us now, and we want to go a different direction, but we just don't know how. So imagine trying to drive with an outdated GPS. You could be incredibly motivated, work hard, and never give up. But if your map is wrong, then you'll still end up taking unnecessary detours, right? I am so happy you're here too. Y'all, if you haven't subscribed to Dr. Mark here, then, I encourage you to subscribe to his channel and listen to his music. He does a lot of the classics and things. And so his spirit in doing that, his voice, he's just really, really good. And it would, if y'all would do that, that would be great. I know I've listened to a few and it's really good. So if y'all get a chance, subscribe to Dr. Mark here. Okay, so most of us believe we're making choices based on reality. Knee-jerk reactions a lot of times. We talked about that a while back ago. Thank you so much, Epic. So most of us believe we're making choices based in reality, when in truth, we're actually making choices based on the internal map we've been carrying for years, our belief systems, these things that we developed that we may not even look at. So every time we speak, we're revealing pieces, parts of that map, parts of the map. So I don't know where my mom is. She's telling Rodolfo hi. I don't even see Rodolfo here. Are you here, Rodolfo? Because maybe I don't know what's going on. This is why I'm asking, because maybe, I don't know. Anyway, so sometimes we're talking about ourselves when we're speaking. It's really important. I talk to you a lot about words, our words that we speak. Sometimes we're talking from a belief that we accepted long ago. I've done this with my brothers, my baby brother especially. One time he said something about this, and I'm like, no, I was there. No. So not every belief originated in adulthood. Many were formed in the childhood before we had the ability to question whether they were true or not, So we heard something over and over and over, and it was repetitive. And so we took it as the gospel, so to speak. So others came from what was never said. Sometimes we just made, as children, we are so creative, we can make a story up. So sometimes we just made stories up. Hello, George, how are you this evening? Well, thank you. So some were created from painful experiences. This is where we learn to anticipate and strategize so as to not feel that again. But we're so busy using our energy not to feel that again that we're not really realizing. You're right, the witch did have plenty to say about the dogmatic belief and its effects on children. It really did. And it can be crazy. That's why we don't talk about religion here so far as a dogma or anything like that. Spiritual, but not religious stuff, because some of it can be very dogmatic. I'm glad that you're well, George. Thank you. We're talking about the belief systems being our internal maps this evening, and some of these belief systems that we develop from childhood. Dr. Mark, you are very welcome. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Your mind defaults into fight and flight. Yeah. Mine used to go into flight and fight, and that was how I learned. That's how my central nervous system was geared. And your central nervous system is the part that sends us into flight, fight, and freeze. And a lot of times we aren't getting our breath because it directly affects your respiratory system, your digestive system, and your cardiovascular system. So that's, your belief systems can affect that. All right, well, you won't be here long if it's not related, I'm sure. So, George, captain and cruise ship. Sometimes I'm glad that you're getting to watch, George. That's right. Where are you headed to? All right. So, some beliefs were created from painful experiences that our nervous system interpreted as the truth. So those beliefs become the background programming running quietly beneath our awareness. Thank you, Epic. I don't think he was on our thank you. Yeah. So those beliefs become the background programming running reality beneath our awareness. We may not even be aware. We're just always, I know before I started getting my chakras balanced, I didn't realize how jumpy I was, and that was that anticipate. I know, right? He did good. That one was a trip. So, we don't realize that our belief system has our body, your body keeps the score. It's in the book, and so our belief systems have those neural pathways. And so when you have a belief in your mind, what somebody says, somebody does, and then it starts releasing down those neurotransmitters, and they start releasing hormones. And so those hormones, and affecting your glands, they're going down your glands, and they're affecting your body. Yes, you're right, Angela. He sure was. He was trying to be a troll, and we ain't having it. Epic did good. Yeah. He was nice. Epic was nice and gave him a chance, but he just wasn't. So those beliefs can influence our thoughts and our emotions, our expectations, our relationships, and decisions long before we consciously recognize they're there. So if we feel like we're just on this hamster wheel, and the same thing happening, it can be highly, highly indicative of the belief system because we just don't know how to get off the hamster wheel. So many of the fears we experience today aren't simply fears, they're protective responses built around old beliefs. And so here's a few that you may be familiar with. I trust people, I'll get hurt. Some people believe that, so they're afraid to trust people. I have to earn love. That's right, Epic. That is so right. That was rude. I saw him say, "Don't dismiss me," and yeah, he wasn't trying to. He was trying to hijack the whole thing, wasn't he, Angela and Epic? So some say I'm responsible for everyone else's happiness. This may be and we're not saying that to ourselves, I'm responsible for everyone's happiness, but we've learned how to react so that somebody doesn't get hurt, so somebody doesn't get angry, so that somebody doesn't feel this way. Protecting someone else's feelings more so than our own, but at the same time trying to protect our own, because if we say no, then we're afraid that that's going to be the end and that we're not going to have what we want, which is acceptance. So those beliefs begin steering our lives as though they're facts instead of interpretations. I told y'all when I went into therapy, and she's like, Stacy, imagine good things. Because as children, our imaginations were wired to imagine the worst case scenarios, because maybe if you had a parent when you had a great idea as a child and somebody said, well, what if this happens? Well, what if that happened? If they weren't, like Angela says, if they weren't supportive, and somebody else, said they didn't have a supportive parent. If you didn't have a supportive family system, like I said in last week, says some people have never received support in their whole life. They don't know what that is. It's true. It's true. So eventually we stop asking whether what's going on in our mind is true or not. We just think that it is, and we didn't ask and get clarity because we're afraid to ask and get clarity, because we're afraid of looking stupid or looking weak or what have you. Or maybe we do ask to get clarity. But I know for me and a lot of people, we're afraid to ask for clarity. So we simply live as though we think that this is true. We got our minds made up, and don't confuse us with the facts. But then we move into neuroscience. One of my favorite ideas comes from a neuroscientist named Stephen Bartlett. And he says, tell your brain what you want, and it begins looking for ways to create it. So that's what I was telling y'all, is that we have to heal all of the things and those neural pathways that's trying to protect us from what we don't want, because that's what we're giving most of our energy to in our belief system if we're afraid that people are bad. And while we may not say that people are bad, hello, Ella. Okay, bye, hello. We may not say, I know, I don't think that was very nice what they were saying. We don't say that people are bad, maybe in our, vocally, but we may feel in fear that people are bad. I know that I had that underlying fear at one time, and I went to a Unity church, and they gave you these tests, that you just filled out. And then when you looked at the answers, the thing is that when we learn to listen to others and listen to ourselves, the answers are there. Well, you're about to be gone. Allow, you're welcome to be here, but we don't do that here. Okay, never mind. You're not welcome to be here. All right. So our brain is constantly searching for evidence to support what we already believe. Can y'all believe that our brain is searching for evidence for what we already believe? So that is if it's good or if it's bad. If we're having a good day, we'll find all the evidence of goodness. And if we're having a bad day, then we're going to have all the evidence of this is bad. Some of us with body image, some of us with image, we struggle. That's why I'm always saying, get in the mirror and tell yourself, I'm good enough, and getting closer and closer to where you only see the pupils in your eyes, because sometimes we look at ourselves and we just self-loathe, especially if you struggle with addiction, codependency, or grief. It's like, what'd I do wrong, right? That's a part of a belief system. What did I do wrong? Instead of, we do stuff wrong, but we're human beings, and all human beings do things wrong, but you might not have. I used to dismiss myself as a female, because as one of our generic tapes is though it's that time of the month. So people tend to think that, dismiss our thoughts when it's that time of the month. I talked about the other evening about the full moon, about how it stirs up emotions. And so while our emotions may be intense, is that the emotion, what would we be like if we weren't given an excuse? So learning to heal those emotions that we give excuses to. So with your brains, constantly searching for evidence, asking yourself, what is it searching for? Especially when you're looking for evidence that doesn't make you feel good at all. See, this is rewiring that neural pathway. So our brain is constantly searching. So this is a part of our reticular activating system in your brain, the brain's filtering system, and it notices what matches our expectations. I've talked to y'all a lot about expectations, and expectations aren't intuition necessarily. A lot of people think their expectations are intuition, and it's just their survival skills. So they're working from their survival skills. What we learn to do is to take our survival skills into, at one time they're liabilities because they're causing us pain. But when we heal them, we can turn them into tangible tools, because when we get rid of the expectations, we can get into alignment, like what I was talking about earlier with intuition, because we know what's real and what is something that comes from our background. Angela, how our parents made us feel in childhood created false. Absolutely, Angela. You're exactly right. It sure did. It sure did. Stacy, I believe y'all. Okay. All right, Stacy. Well, you're welcome to stay, and you're welcome to your beliefs. So thank you. But, all right. So we don't want to be distracted by things that aren't in alignment with what we're talking about here. So we're discussing Shehros, is we're discussing your belief systems being in your internal map. So notice, our belief systems, our reticular activating system. I know, right? I know. Our reticular activating system is, thank you, Epic, though, is, you're keeping them from distracting. We might give them a minute for me to tell them that this isn't what we're talking about, but, you're doing great. So we'll be able to get to that story quicker. So, if we believe opportunities don't exist, our brain overlooks opportunities. Do you realize that? If we don't think an opportunity exists, maybe we're sitting here praying for opportunities, but if on the underlying, Rusty Waters, how are you and Amy doing? So if we think underneath that no, this isn't, when we say hoping for the best and expecting the worst, that's something that we need to heal, because we're not in alignment with that kind of statement. So even if we say I'm praying for opportunities, if we don't really believe and learn to feel that belief of what does that look like if I get an opportunity? What kind of opportunity could come from this? That childlike imagination, and using that childlike imagination in a way that's going to better serve us. Angela, were you able to start learning to use your imagination? Because it is sad, because some people do have parents that shut down that childlike imagination, that when you have a great idea, they're like, oh, no, they're just trying to get you to play it safe. When, there's nothing wrong with your ideas. You're welcome. You're welcome, Rusty Waters. So we're talking about belief systems being our internal maps today. So if we believe the opportunities don't exist, we overlook them. If we believe people can't be trusted, our brain collects evidence to prove it. If we believe healing is possible, our attention begins noticing opportunities that support that belief when we believe healing is possible. And I'm so grateful for that. Thank you for those hearts. Because, I got to heal because I believed healing was possible, because it certainly beat the alternative. The alternative is living the same thing on that hamster wheel, same day, same thing, same results, same thing, same day, same results. And it was heartbreaking. And when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, you can either constrict and close up, or your soul desires to expand. And if you listen to your soul desires to grow. Absolutely. We need to use our imagination to expect the best. Toxic families like mine are always pests. I know, girl. I know. And we had to relearn to use our imagination, right? Because I thought my imagination was my reality, and that my reality was catastrophic. That's what I thought for a long time, when I was just doing like I was just explaining, is that it just kept getting more painful and more painful. And I either had a choice: I could constrict, or I could be open and willing to grow, but I had to learn to use my words in a different way. So we don't simply see the world. We see the world through the beliefs that we've practiced. We'll practice these beliefs over and over, and we're always continually growing, peeling those layers away. I've worked with people before, like on codependency, and then something happens, because sometimes these things will manifest in a variety of ways. Maybe it's not going to come back the way that it was before, but then you'll notice it in another area. And they'll be like, Stacy, what did I do wrong? And I'll be like, you didn't do anything wrong. It just, times evolve and they change, and things, circle back around sometimes. So spiritual connection, I also believe we've designed beautifully our minds, our nervous system. I think that we were designed, with, this magnificence. The planets and everything else was designed with magnificence. It's stuff that we can't even think. Thankfully, science has figured out our bodies, but we don't know what all is going on in our body until we get curious about it. And when we get curious about it, we'll notice that, thanks, Joseph Leon, your justice. Okay. So when we get curious about it, then we can start healing, because healing definitely takes some curiosity, our whys. So they all work together, our minds, our bodies, and our energy. We know that energy works. It's not just a woo-woo thing. Sharose, your teaching beautifully shows how our beliefs become an inner compass guiding our thoughts and choices. I view this through Vedanta, which deepens self-awareness in the pursuit of truth within. That's beautiful. Thank you, Sharose, for sharing that. Yes, I've heard of Vedanta. I haven't practiced it, but I have heard of it. So thank you for sharing that. And yeah, I appreciate that. So we are intrinsically made. Everything, like, once we learn our bodies. Good evening, Binod. How are you this evening? So we're participating in this incredible design we've been given. We are designed just right. So there's really, wisdom. Make up your mind. When we say make up your mind, it's about making your mind up to where you want to grow. And then when you make up your mind with this neuroscience, you will grow there. So, because once your mind has direction, your brain begins looking for ways to support that. So it's just, not figuring out the how, when, where, and why. I've been telling y'all, like, something I'm navigating is next year. And so I've been trying to figure out these things and line these things up, but I'm not stuck to one thing. You've heard me talk about Spain. Well, I'm still back, and I still feel like they're not going to let Grinch in Spain. So we can't move to Spain, and because I looked it up again and it tells me no. So I'm thinking and then I thought about Italy, but then I looked at the bureaucracy in Italy that I hear so much about. And then it says that to take a bird, it's going to be best to go to France. So I'm going to go to France. So I'm re-navigating. Sometimes we re-navigate our maps. But it's good to have your dreams, and it's good to have that curiosity, and you don't have to have it all figured out at once. I've got a year to grow through this process. And what I've learned and what I've developed faith and evidence in is that when I wanted to move to Mexico, it took me 2 years to get here. It took us 2 years to get here when I wanted to move to Mexico. So, it's just accepting time. When we get our nervous system settled down, we understand that we can wait. But see, sometimes we feel like a failure based on when our central nervous system is overamped and we are in that flight, fight, and freeze all the time. This is indicative of we feel like we're always in a hurry. So it's that instant gratification. That's why our coping can sometimes turn to food or turn to alcohol, maybe chain smoking, maybe, whatever outside of ourselves to calm our nerves. We say, I want to calm my nerves, instead of us developing a relationship with our nerves. I know, girl, he does, but they really have some strict rules about bringing birds into Spain, especially Quaker parrots like Grinch is. So they, the first time I looked it up probably about 3 months ago, and it said, no, absolutely not. Spain will not allow you to bring a Quaker parrot. And then, that's right, Epic. I am a cat. I'm a Leo, so I'm gonna be pouncing. Opportunities come, and all these opportunities. And it doesn't mean because Spain won't accept my Grinch that I'm not gonna get to go to Europe. It just means I'm not gonna get to go to Spain, because once you're over there, you can get everywhere. So yeah, never rush. Yeah, exactly. You look and you kind of figure things out and navigate. And I learned that in martial arts too. Is when you go to break boards, I used to develop a relationship with that board. And when I would look at the board, I would read the lines in the board so that I would know where to hit the board so that I could get a clean break. And it wouldn't, because it hurts if you have to hit it more than once. So I just wanted to hit it once. So yeah, Binod, our brain wants to control everything around us, which is the flight fight mode. Releasing that energy to a higher divine gives us peace and joy. Absolutely. Absolutely. I do that. I'll be releasing things to the higher mind all the time because, then in prayer, we used to learn to say this or something better. We may pray for certain things or something better because a lot of times when we're open and receptive and we're not in a hurry, we can get something better than what we even dreamed of. And that's learning to not run on that instant gratification, just trying to get something, get this right now, because instant gratification usually is indicative of the joy of getting is going to last shorter too. You want to get it faster, well, the joy of having it's going to, be over faster. So sometimes it's a balance. We steer the ship, but you can't fight the wind. I know, right? It's about learning, that there's so many opportunities out there. See, when we get curious and we start realizing there are so many opportunities out there, and when we get to where we can trust our choices, then we're going to realize that, that all the times we would get to renavigate, it really steers us to where we want to go to catch the right wind, right, Epic? So it's about learning that trust, though. It's about learning to trust, calming that central nervous system down so that we can think in our right and divine mind, because our brain can give us data, just snap, 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 but getting to breathe, getting that divine mind, your, frontal cortex here and your pituitary, pineal glands and all of this. You can let them work for you if you'll pay attention. Binod, yes, we need to look at the big picture, not the instant gratification. Life is a journey. That's exactly right, Binod. Exactly. Rusty Waters. Amy and I have been looking for a new place to live now for about 2 years, and I know in my belief system that God will give me a place to go in the right. That's exactly right, Rusty Waters. Y'all will find the right and perfect place, and just having that faith and belief. And, it sounds like you're praying too, and so you'll be divinely guided doing the breathing. Yeah. So again, once your mind, has direction, the brain starts finding ways to make it happen. So direct your brain to what you want and heal what you don't want so that you can have a clear direction. Learn to breathe so you can slow down and clear those neural pathways so we can rewire them so that you know where you want to grow. So think about this. If someone grows up believing we're just poor, right? Are they spending their life proving that belief to be true or fighting against it? See, sometimes that happens. They either spend their life making that belief true or fighting against it. Either way, the belief is still driving the vehicle, whether they're fighting against it or think it's true. When I talk about intention and motivation, this is the thing. That's what it is. So the goal isn't simply to think positively. We're not Pollyannas. We're practical. The goal is to become aware of the map you're using. Not depending on everybody else to tell you where your map's supposed to go. Just learn that self-trust that's connected with your soul, because I had to rhyme like that right now, and it is true. So because you can't choose a new direction until you realize the one you've been following, if you think that is the reality. Curiosity is the most divine trait, in my opinion. Confirmation bias is the enemy. Yes. Yeah, I used to do that. I used to have a t-shirt, my mind's made up, don't confuse me with the facts. But I had to learn that we can change our mind. And we, that neuroplasticity, that's what the plasticity is. It's that, being able to move it around, so changing it. So, y'all ready for a story this evening? So that's what we're opening with today, is just being maybe thinking about how we can change. Is Angela still here? Do you have any questions, Angela, before we go into the story? I know for me, I had to change that. One of the stories that, that my family had to, absolutely. You have any questions, darling? All right. So here's one of the stories that was told to us when we were kids. Now, y'all know I grew up in dysfunction. I've had people tell me that your family put the funk in dysfunction. So my mom used to say, and I have a baby brother that I heard him say that not long ago, and was that, when we didn't have money, we got along better. And I'm like, that's not true. No, that's not true. It was not. I believed the lie that I wasn't worthy or wasn't smart enough, but this is Jason. But this past year, I decided to say enough and do what I knew I should do. But it helped when I found someone who believed in me too. Absolutely, but see, you changed your energy, right? And that's how you were able to attract somebody like that, rather than the old familiar that kept reinforcing the old belief system. So it's like when we get sick and tired of being sick and tired, then we'll change. Pain is the greatest motivator. And I'm so glad that you found that, because, it sounds like that you did your change. And then, Jim C., we're on here, we're talking about something serious here. So we're talking about our belief system. So I'm about to read a story. And, you're welcome to stay, but you're going to have to keep it clean. Okay? All right. Well, never mind. Thank you, Epic. All right, so here's our story. Let's take a deep breath in before we start the story. So breathe in. And then just let's release. Get your central nerve. Hey, geez, Jaded Wasted. I'm glad that you're here. We're to our story. We're going to tell a story. So I look forward to hearing if you all relate with this story after I'm through telling the story. It's good to see you too, darling. So here goes the story. We had more love when we had less. Has anyone ever been afraid in your belief system that if you have love, then you're afraid of if you have money too? And if you have money, you're afraid you won't have love. Or if you have friends, then you're afraid you won't have this. Has anybody... I hear you. That's totally fine, Epic. It's okay. So here we go. Here's the story, y'all. So I once knew someone who grew up hearing the phrase over and over again. Whenever money became stressful, one of their parents would sigh and say, we had more love when we had less money. And as a child, they didn't question it. Why would they? Children don't evaluate beliefs. They absorb the beliefs, is what children do. So if we hear this kind of language, this is why we may have to, as adults, change our language and look at the reality, So every time they heard those words, another line was quietly being drawn on their internal map. Angela, no, because I didn't have more money really than a lot of people. I did have more money one time, but I didn't believe I was better than somebody. I gave my bedroom furniture away one time, because I've told you all that my dad used to say I was selfish and spoiled, selfish and self-centered when I was like 14 to 16. I had a nice car when I was 16, but I didn't look down on people because I heard this growing up about being poor. So I always thought we didn't have money. So when we did have money, because I was told those things, I used to give things away. And I still give things away if I have it. I still give stuff away, but I'm not trying to prove anything. So this is when we talk about our beliefs and intention and motivation and how when we get in alignment. But thank you for asking. That's a great question. So no, I didn't think so, but I did give my bedroom furniture away to some people who didn't have the bedroom furniture. We, would go to their house and they would say, pull up a bucket. So sometimes they sat on buckets, and stuff. So I gave them my bedroom furniture. But I know. So anyway, no, we didn't have that kind of money. I had friends that had a lot of money. I know, right? Monday night. So Thank you, Angela. And, I didn't know the difference for a long time with my friends that had money. Yes, cheese shaded waist is. I didn't know the difference. I had friends that had a lot of money, and I didn't. I loved going to their houses though and pretending, that I got to live in that house and stuff. But yeah, thank you, Angela. My glove. All right, greetings to the guy leaving work. Congratulations, getting off work is fun. Yes, I'm glad Epic's on it too. One is the loneliest number that you'll ever do. Two can be as bad as one in the loneliest number since the number one. Yeah. So, kids, we absorb these words, we hear this, and so, yeah. Every time they heard those words, another line was being quietly drawn on their internal map about money, about this and that. Hello, let Ruth set you free. Okay. Let truth set you free. Let truth set you free. Hello, let truth set you free. I'm sorry. So, without without intending to, they began connecting money with something they never wanted to lose. If having more meant having less love, you're eating breakfast, still the best in the West. All right. Multitasking there. So they learned that if having love, they were afraid of having money, if they were afraid they were going to lose love because of money. So maybe having less was safer, right? Is what they thought. So years later, this person couldn't understand why every time life began to improve, they would somehow pull back. They would self-sabotage, and they didn't consciously self-sabotage, but they started self-sabotaging because they were afraid if they got too far ahead that they would lose their love, right? So, Rusty Waters, I consider myself a minimalist. I don't like to have lots of things, and I do give things away too. I try to live my life as if I'm in poverty. I'm a mediumist. I like my things, and there's some sentimental things that I hold on to. But I've learned I like giving things away. I've given, when I have money, I've given money away, because if I have more than I need, then I'm always welcome to. But I had to learn to channel that. Like, do I have it mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and financially if somebody asks me for something rather than giving it away to prove something? So now when I give it, it's because I know the value of it, and I know how when I've received, because people have helped me. So as pay it forward is kind of like what I do, is because I've been in places when I didn't have money. I've been in places when I did have money, and life is a series of that maybe sometimes. Binod, as long as I have my basic needs, food, shelter, medicine, I have all I need. Praise God. There you go. That's good. Yeah, having your basic needs is very important. That's good, say. And so we're on the topic this evening of what our belief system says, but we're not talking about that kind of belief system. We're talking about the neural pathways and how we can grow. So I hope that yeah, right? Let truth set you free. I've never had a good relationship with money, and it's something I'm working on today. Well, hopefully the story will help you some. Hello, Ramon. So here we go. So years later, the person couldn't understand why every time life began to improve, they would somehow pull back. So they would undercharge for their work. Do you have that problem? Let truth set you free. They would undercharge for their work. I've done that before. Turn down opportunities. Feel uncomfortable receiving compliments, spend money quickly after earning it, or feel guilty wanting more. It could have created like a lack mentality, right? Hearing those kind of statements. They weren't making financial decisions. They were protecting a belief. That's what happens, is they were protecting a belief, but they didn't know it was the subconscious protection of the belief. A belief that said, if I have more, I might lose what matters most. If I have more, I might lose what matters most. That's, I was reading something else. My glove. I don't know what's going on there, but Binod, that's called humility, not thinking you're better than someone else with less money. Praise God. Absolutely, because that could be me. There for the grace of God go I. So, yeah, there we go. So, yeah, because it could be me. All right. I'm thankful for your basic needs are met. However, working 40 hours a week to barely get by has left me very unfulfilled. I totally understand that. It's hard, And so even just saying every day, it's hard times. A lot of times, I've had people looking for jobs in this past year, and I've told them, I said, you got to just imagine there's a job out there looking for you. Of course, there are a lot of people, lining up for these jobs, but there's a job out there specifically for you because we all have our special talents and gifts. Hello, Jeremy. So, yeah. So I hope that it gets better. Truth, let truth set you free because there are some hard times, but I have faith and I have hope and I'm open to opportunities because I know there's opportunities out there. And the thing is that we keep hoping, pray, not just hope, but talk about people who chase acceptance by putting themselves into debt hundreds of thousands of dollars without realizing why or what they're doing. Yeah, yeah. Well, they're chasing, right? And when our central nervous system is trying to prove something, then we're going to be chasing because we're afraid that this other thing, like what I'm talking about, is going to catch up with us, right? Is that pain of when there wasn't money. My daughter, she doesn't want to be like me because when I was a single mom, sometimes when I would go to the grocery store, I'd have to be like counting like what we can get, you know. So I'm sure that her central nervous system never wants to be like me because I would have to be counting the money in the store. So that might be a reason that she has to keep, that she would, if she does. I don't know what my daughter is doing. That's not my business. But if she did that, I would totally understand that. But until you heal that, it's that lack mentality, and I've dealt with that lack mentality, so I totally understand it. And it's a lot of it's lack mentality. They either geez, jaded, wasted. They don't want to feel poor. Maybe they came from a place where they didn't have money, and so now that they have money, because I've been in that position too, to where once I got money, because I couldn't buy stuff when I didn't have money, I bought too much stuff, you know. So it's about getting that inner compass going. Do I really need this? What am I trying to fulfill here? Because healing from lack is really hard. Healing from lack is really hard. And it comes on different levels and layers. Bernard, some people wish that they have what you've got. We need gratitude for what we have, not hoping for more money and materialism. That's true. That's true. Being grateful. We need to be grateful. It's okay to want more and to be praying for another opportunity, but still to be grateful, because I'm grateful that I'm here in Mexico. I don't dislike Mexico is why I want to move somewhere else. In fact, as we build esteem, what we learn is, look, I did this. Now I can do something else, So it's not just satisfaction. It's realizing I'm at an age where if I want to get to another country, to Europe, where I can walk around a whole lot and see a lot of things that, I've heard about in the histories and the beauty, then I need to get going. That's what it means. Benon, yes, Dr. Mark, this is a different twist to a story. I was born into a very wealthy and affluent family. When I told him I had intentions of becoming a priest, they told me I was crazy and I was an embarrassment. Oh my goodness. Angela, people accept abusive relationships, don't believe they can find someone better. That's scarcity. That is scarcity mentality too. That's settling, right? It's just settling because they're afraid. They're running on that fear fumes. Dr. Mark, I never forgave them for this, and I actually carried a stigma of burden of shame for something I didn't do. It certainly can do that, Dr. Mark. It sure can. It can, it puts a damper on your hopes and dreams, because that was a hope and a dream for you. And I don't know if you ever got to grieve that, but that would certainly be something to grieve, that a lot of things we have to grieve are things that we wish would have happened that didn't happen, Why did I move to Mexico? How long am I going to stay here? I'm probably going to stay here another year. I moved here because my daughter and I were sitting in a hammock in Texas, and she, we struggled with a tragedy, and so it was hard to keep staying in the same place because having the same place where all of that happened didn't bring anyone back. Just because we could look and be like, oh, that's where this happened, that's where this happened. So, when you grief, sometimes you learn how precious life is. And she was like, Mom, do you know that America is only 5% of the world? And I said, really? She said, yeah. She said, I don't want to live here anymore. At the time, there was a lot of negativity going on in America, kind of like today. And so I was like, well, where do you want to live? And she's like, I don't know. I just would like to try something else. And I'm like, okay. So Mexico, just being from Texas, Mexico is just over the border. So we were going to move to, Peru, or we were going to move to, I forgot what the other one was, Ecuador. But then we decided we'll just go to Mexico. So now we're in Mexico. But, she's 31 years old. She's going to do what she's going to do. But I'm going to move to Europe because I figure I've got probably 10, 15 more years that I can do some good walking, maybe longer than that, but I know 10, 15. I'm in great health. And while I have my health, I want to do that. I'm not dissatisfied with Mexico, but I am looking forward to civilization. There's some things here, like I have to order my water. We can't drink the water down here. So it's been a great experience, though. I loved that I got to, see another culture, be in another culture. Life is amazing, and there's so much to see. There's so much to see and experience. And it really is humbling living down here because they are happy down here. They don't have all the material stuff in America. I mean, there are some who do. I'm not saying everybody, but it's not their focus. It's the corazon, the heart. The heart is more of the focus down here. And so I've loved being down here. The people are very sweet down here. They're very helpful, and yeah, so probably another year. I've been down here 9 years, so probably another year. Let truth set you free. Sorry to hear that, Dr. Mark. Always follow your dreams. I know, right? Yes. Epic. I just had a massive vanilla slice for all the times that I didn't have vanilla slice. Now I feel a great shame. I know. Sometimes that happens. Oh, Stacy, I can see you in Europe if I just heard right. Yes, you did. You love Switzerland. I used to think I wanted to move to Switzerland when I was younger, but it's cold. It gets so cold in Switzerland. I'm afraid I would be wimpy. Wimpy. Jason Stillwell. One of the biggest lies we believe is I'm too old, or I don't have the time or the money. And usually with that belief is being comfortable with fear, because we can, despite the barriers we put in our path. Absolutely. I always tell people, you're never too old, and it's never too late. It's not. It's those stories. That's part of that belief system, like you're talking about, Jason Stillwell, is that's we're never too old and it's never too late. So, do I speak Spanish? Can you say something in Spanish? Yes, mi nombre es Stacy Renee, and I'm not going to tell y'all how old I am, and de los Estados Unidos. I'm from this, United States, and yeah, I get by. I know enough Spanish to get by. Epic. The best part of traveling is staying a while and submerging yourself in the culture. Absolutely. And I do. I live right in the culture of everything. I don't live in fancy places or nothing. It's never too late until you're in the ground. Absolutely. Kim, my hubby is, Ramon is Puerto Rican. He'll be talking to me in Spanish. I understand him pretty good. I tell him, though, despacio, sometimes meaning slow down, because he can get that Spanish going fast. And I'll be like, because I have to ask people here to slow down too sometimes, because I can understand Spanish better than I speak Spanish, but I speak it enough, so yeah. Me dedico to Coaching de mentalidad, CSC. I'm a mental health coach. What's fascinating is that their parent, Angela, your Spanish is good. I could understand you clearly. I can understand English, Spanish, and Portuguese. That's amazing. Well, I have this Texas accent, so it does kind of throw a loop, and I'm having to work on enunciating more. So, because sometimes down here, when they say what, they don't say que for what, for, just the local slang. So sometimes when I would start speaking Spanish, I've gotten better, but when I would start, they'd say Monday, and that's like what in the local slang, and I'd be like, oh, and they'd say, do you speak English? I'd say, yeah, and so then they'd start, so it's taken me a while to practice. Dr. Mark, the world is sometimes not very loving. When people are poor, maybe middle class, many people look down on them. And when people are wealthy, many people hate them. The world really isn't kind. It isn't, but it is. Because I've had all kinds of people, and I just love them all. Because I don't, think bad of wealthy people. I want to work for wealthy people, and I don't think bad of, of course, middle class is what is pretty common, or it's not as common as it used to be. But and then the poor, it's just hard. Sometimes people have had hard times, but my heroes are the ones that rise up from those kind of circumstances. Jason Stillwell, you should look at moving to Italy. It might be a little hard, but the quality of life is wonder with a top-notch healthcare system. Well, maybe I can get there after I get, to France or what have you. Kim, I only know one language and barely speak it. Hello, Joe. Katan, hello, how are you? All right, so, I was just talking to Dr. Mark about grieving, the childhoods that we wish that we had. Angela, what do I think of celebrities? Stacy, do you like them? I do like celebrities. Do you know what my pet peeve is? And I'm not saying that it's right, and I'm not saying that it's fair. You're in Yorkshire. I'm not saying that it's right or that it's fair, Angela, because I don't try to be perfect. Is the only celebrities that, I really like that like cringe me, or as if it's like 60, 70-year-olds with 30 and 20-year-olds. That's the thing. I like them as people, though, because I like Cher. Do I think that we're compatible? Do I think we're compatible with somebody 20, 30, 40 years younger? I don't. I just don't. But I do like celebrities. I would coach for celebrities. Yes, that's cool. That proper Yorkshire. Very cool, Joe. Thank you. Let truth set you free. Yes, I know, girl. I know. Or a guy who'd let truth set you free. Thank you. That's the hard part, is I can't tell who's who, but I know. I don't, I think, I can't think. I'm like, what? I know, right? No, we're not less than celebrities. I have had people. I did go through a cougar phase one time, but my cougar phase was like I was 47 and I dated somebody who was, some people who were 34. So that was like as far as as young as I would go. And even then, I went to my therapist or my coach and I said, and it was right after I lost my son, and people didn't understand me very well. And I just was trying to distract myself dating. And I go to my coach and I said, do you think I'm shallow? Because maybe I did that about 6 months. And I go to my coach and I said, do you think I'm shallow? I kind of feel shallow. And she said, Stacy, she said, Stacy, you just don't want to be hurt. And the reality is that everyone is going to hurt you. That's when that conversation came up. Thank you, Epic. That's when that conversation came up, was that everyone was going to hurt you, whether they intend to or not, like my son. And so I had to, that got me out of it, though. But yeah, it's just, whew. Kim, when you start coaching the rich and famous, don't forget us little people. No, girl, I ain't going to forget about you. No. No. So when we looked at those beliefs and the lack and scarcity, like Angela was talking about, Jason Stillwell, my lady friend is 30 years older than me, and we have so much fun in our common and our faith and foundation. It all depends, but Mick Jagger and his 20-something is pure ego. Yeah, that's cool to hear, Jason Stillwell. That is good. See, I'm glad to see you went the other way rather than, and I have had younger people, try to ask me out, but let truth set you free. I once dated a man 20 years my senior, and he traded me in for someone 35 years younger than him. I know that's disheartening, isn't it? It's like after that, I'm done with men. Healing from that has been a long time. I'm not done with men, but I've had that happen too. Let truth set you free. And it's like unbelievable. I will not forget you, Angela, if I coach celebrities. I will not forget y'all. I just love y'all, and I'm not going to forget y'all if I coach celebrities. Kim. Yeah. So they were protecting a belief, whatever belief that we are protecting, a belief that said, if I have more, I might lose what matters most. What's fascinating is that their parent probably wasn't trying to teach a lesson about money at all. That's the thing, is they weren't trying to teach that. Joe, I'm not saying nothing because I've been there and I've done it. I still love that woman. Dr. Mark, I have a question for you respectfully. You left the United States because of heartache and grieving. I understand this. Now you're in Mexico, but you want to move to Europe. What are you hoping for? I'm wanting to do more things. That's why I came to Mexico too, is that the loss of my son taught me how to live. You can either live or die with a loss like that. And so I chose to live, and I live with honor with him because I carry him with me in my heart and spirit all the time. When I look in my eyes, I look in his eyes, because his eyes look like my eyes. And so that's what I'm hoping for, is that I can do these things. I'm in great health, and there's no reason not to. Why not is really the question. So that's what I ask you all too, is if you want to do something, why not? Ramon, if we follow what we believe and have someone who loves you, you're already rich and famous. That's right. That's right. I love y'all. Y'all are rich and famous. Live your life. Yes. Let truth set you free. Love that, Stacy. Bless you, beautiful. Thank you. That's exactly right. Just go for it, because I sit around. Just this morning, I was sitting around a table with men, because I sit around a table with some men that are 10 years, 15 years older than me, even some that are closer to my age. And I'm hearing them talking about all these health problems. And I'm like, I got to get out of here. I got to get to going somewhere else. And because I've walked these streets, I know what's around here. I've walked here. So I'm like, I gotta get out here and go, because my health, they're complaining about their health and things. And I'm like, no, you're right, Joe. Thank you. Absolutely. So when we look at grieving, what's fascinating about the parent, probably, like I said, wasn't they were not trying to teach a lesson about money at all. They were grieving a season of life. Maybe they missed slower evenings around the dinner table. Maybe that's what it was. Why they were saying that when we had less, we had more love. When we had less money, we had more love. Because maybe they were grieving that season of life. Maybe they missed slower evenings around the dinner table. Maybe they missed family time before careers became demanding. Maybe they were remembering connection and not poverty. But a child's mind doesn't always hear the message that the adult intended. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. Jason, moving to Europe is fairly normal and logical, but people think I'm insane because if I ever leave America, it will be for Israel. I don't think you're insane. I don't think you're insane at all. That's what we're meant to do, is all go explore our dreams. I do believe that. So, sometimes they're not ideal for right now, but it doesn't mean not ever. So I don't know, about Israel right now, but it doesn't mean not ever. I had a friend that she just got back from Iran right before the bombing started in Iran. she's Persian. They were talking about Persians the other night, so she went to Iran to see her heritage, where she came from. And thank goodness she got out of there before the war started, So, yeah. But a child's mind, maybe they were remembering connection, the parent, and not poverty. But a child's mind doesn't always hear the message that the adult intended, you see. So it creates a belief that feels safest. That belief became part of the map that they carry into adulthood, and it wasn't until years later that they paused and asked themselves, is this really true that love and abundance can't exist together? Angela. Oh, hey, great, McGlav. I'm glad you're back, McGlav. Is living in Mexico better than living in the U.S., Stacy? It depends on what you want. A lot of Americans won't like it down here because they're used to getting things like this. Mexico is not fast like that. It's not fast paced. The people, you go to the grocery store, and you can see people really losing it in the grocery store because you're waiting in a long line in the grocery store and everybody's just taking their time. They're being nice, but they're taking their time. Is Mexican Coke actually better than anywhere else? Coca-Cola? I don't know because I don't drink Coke. I've heard it is, but I don't drink Coke, so I don't know that firsthand. I quit drinking Cokes when they started putting sucrose in it and that kind of stuff. Because, my family owned a donut shop. I grew up on Cokes and chocolate donuts. But when they started putting the artificial, stuff in it and not real sugar, then I quit drinking it. Jason Stillwell. I'm sorry to hear that, Joe. I love Britain and I want to go there for a visit one day. So it just depends. America is good and it's clean. Like where I live, some places don't look clean because because the sea is so beautiful here. The sea has the limestone underneath it. That's why you can see all the way down. It's like a giant swimming pool. So, that's really cool. The problem is that there's a lot of trash around, and I don't like seeing the trash sometimes. In America, they used to have a commercial where an Indian man was crying a tear because he was by a stream where there was litter. So there is a lot of litter in a lot of places when you're living in the rural, in the rural areas like me. But it's still beautiful. There's jungles not far. When I walk, I get to see a lot of things. So it's beautiful. And the spirit here, it's very, as they say, tranquilo. So it's very tranquilo here. Muy tranquilo. So that's one thing here is that, I live about, for walking, 45 minutes to walk, but it's like a ride. It's like 7 minutes to drive to the beach. So, Jason, I'm sorry to hear that, Joe. I've been in Britain. I want to go there one day. I know the Bolivia bee. Angela. Hey, Joe. Hey, Tay Mason. Joe. They do a good Coca-Cola. Let truth set you free. I left my heart into Europe when I was 15. Love it there. And the architecture and history, it's beautiful. That's why I want to go there, Let Truth Set You Free, is because they don't, like a lot of places, and, in America even, you've got the new buildings and mixed in with the old buildings, but in Europe, it seems like a lot of the buildings are like the old ones are with the old buildings and all of that. So it does look like there's more history and stuff there. And I love that. Right off to the dungeon, Joe. Yeah. Is he getting too far? I didn't see that last comment, but I guess I didn't want to. She's jaded, wasted. How does Mexico treat you knowing you're from the U.S.? Well, they don't really know because you got down here, there's a lot of Mexicans, there are some Europeans, and there are some Canadians. So they really don't, some people don't like my hair color. I tease about my hair color. My friends, when I go to get things done for her, like I used to take her car and she'd say, don't you go get it fixed because of my hair color, because they know that I'm American, and sometimes Americans do get charged more for things here. So, but sometimes they don't. It just depends. It just depends. So they treat me pretty good. They will, people will jack the prices up and get you if they think you're intimidated. Let truth set you free. Just invoke your angels for protection when you visit the Vatican. Yeah. Yep. My glove. What's so great about Mexican food made by a bunch of non-Mexicans? That's what's so weird here because I was Texas. Texas has a lot of Mexican food, but the Mexican food in Mexico isn't like the Texican food in Texas. So I come down here thinking I was going to get beef enchiladas, and that ain't a thing. That ain't a thing down here. Thank you, Cheese Jaded Wasted. So we do have good food down here, but it's not like in Texas. Texas Mexican food and Mexico Mexican food is different Mexican food. Very rarely do they have that. It's just, the enchiladas. Angels, not angels. Oh, the angels. Okay. Yes. It's going to be great getting to go to the Vatican and all those places, the fountains and the Vatican. I want to go to Greece too. Once I'm over in Europe, I want to go to Greece. I'm going to go to Morocco and buy some rugs. I'm going to go to Germany and buy a cuckoo clock. And so when I can't do anything anymore, I'm going to sit around with my adventures and be like, in my mediumist, not minimalist, but mediumist. I'm going to sit around and just admire that, and chill and be like, oh, what a wonderful life it's been when I can't get out there and walk like I do now. The cartel basically runs Mexico. It's a cut. Well, I don't have a lot of money and the cartel doesn't care about me because as long as I don't do drugs or borrow money, they don't really care. They're here. But as long as I don't open a business, do drugs or borrow money, they don't care about me. Texican sounds like a place for me to find a Latina American wife. There you go. Certainly in Mexico. I hope you get up to 3K subscribers by the end of the year. I hope I do too. Thank you for 4748. I hope I do too. I appreciate everybody that is here, and I appreciate you spending your time here and feeding this kind of algorithm, because I know that there's other algorithms that you could be feeding, those that are corrupt and those that are talking about the ain't it awful things. So because we do talk about ain't it awful, but we also learn that life is to be lived here, and we talk about our experiences. Oh my God, I have a cuckoo clock my dad bought in Germany in the 70s. That is so cool. I love clocks, and cuckoo clocks are amazing. The lives have been going good lately, a lot more viewers. Yes, thank you, Epic. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I would like to encourage you to subscribe, and I just want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for being here. Those of you that, are in here and stay here and that you meet with me, because we have a great community in here, a very loving and supportive community in here. And so it makes me excited just to get on here. I get on here on Monday nights and Friday nights, and I get on here on Wednesday mornings and Sunday mornings. And every time I get on here, I look forward to it because you all are amazing. You need to find a good home for it. Well, I'm over here in Mexico if you want to make a trip down to Cancun. So let truth set you free. Angela, what's the difference between Americans and Latin Americans in your opinion? I think that down here, family and culture is very important, and the materialism, isn't as bad down here. I don't believe that there's, they do believe in tradition and culture and families, and the materialism is less. Out of all the self-help channels, this is the only one where the host life isn't a mess. Well, thank you, Epic. That's a great compliment. I appreciate that. Thank you. I think Grinch will love the cuckoo clock. Grinch will probably learn to say cuckoo, cuckoo. Geez, JD Waste is because when I do my cell phone and when he hears me texting or something, he'll go tick, 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 tick. He does that. Geez, JD Wasted. My grandma had a clock. All you could hear at night is the buzzing fridge and that loud clock going tick tack, tick tack. Yes, yes. I love it. I had a clock that used to ding on the hour, and when I had my Shih Tzu, she passed away almost a year ago. She passed away on August 9th. She was 17 years old. And that clock would go off in the night after I went to sleep, and I didn't hear that clock, but let that Shih Tzu get up. And I could hear that Shih Tzu get up. How would you describe the culture in Texas, where you came from? It's very friendly. When they say Texas is a friendly state, it really is very friendly. For the most part, if you get down near Houston, sometimes it's not as friendly in some places, and everything, because Houston's very busy. And even me being a Texan, I was sitting in a Cafe Express one time, and it's like, wow, these people look so mad, you know. But for the most part, everybody's friendly, and is one of the things in Texas, and everything really is big in Texas too. So we got the big Buc-ee's that everybody hears about, those are in Texas. There's you know, everything's big in Texas. Yeah. Grinch is cute. He's in his house right now. All right. So the beliefs that we hear in our childhood from our parents, those things, those sayings that they say over and over and over, they imprint and embed in our memory. So sometimes we just have to change that neural pathway, because as a child, like they say, our parent might have just been trying to protect us, but what it may have done is told us that we're not good enough. It might have told us that our dreams didn't matter. It might have told us these things. And so we certainly may have to grieve that as an adult so that we can let go of that lack and scarcity mentality. Thank you, Sam. So it wasn't until years later that they paused and asked themselves, is it really true that love and abundance can't exist together? So that single question changed everything. When they asked themselves that, change that neural pathway, because they realized they didn't have to choose between connection and prosperity. They could create both. So sometimes the beliefs that guide our lives aren't the ones that we consciously choose. This is the same like with money. When we decide something because people have money that they're bad, that's not true, because there's people with money that are good and there's people with money that are bad. There's people who don't have money that are good and there's people that do have money that don't have money that are bad. So we can't just put people in a bucket like that. We just don't know, So, all right, congratulations, Kim. Very good. Hey, JR, it's good to see you, darling. Hello, Monity. So we're almost done, y'all. So, we just need to tell ourselves different stories. Sometimes the beliefs that guide our lives aren't the ones we consciously choose. So it's worth questioning our beliefs. They're simply the stories we heard often enough that they became our truth. And once we become aware of those stories, we finally have the opportunity to decide whether they're still leading us where we want to go. So what do y'all think? So Wednesday, we're going to talk about, and if you don't, if you're busy, because I'll be on here at 9 a.m. Wednesday morning, we're going to talk about, who drew your map. And this could be, your belief systems coming from your parents. It could be beliefs coming from your children. It could be beliefs coming from your partner. It could be beliefs coming from this. So who drew your map, to make sure that we get clear on who drew your map. So where did this originate, this belief system? That was funny, because my brother, this story here was my own story, Let Truth Set You Free. I'm glad I caught your live. Thank you. Well, you are very welcome. And if you haven't subscribed, I hope that you will. Thank you so much. Because my mom used to say that, when we were growing up I know, right? She's doing good. Now, see Ramon? He's cheering his woman on. So my mom used to say that, is when we had, and so what happened was probably because she loved her grandmother, and they were like poor, but my mom never considered herself. Thank you so much, Epic. Her mom didn't consider, she didn't consider herself poor because she had so much love and family. So my mom would say, we were poor, but we didn't consider ourselves poor because they had love and family. So he is the best, isn't he? So it's great that you have great support. Oh, you're very welcome, Angela. Thank you for being here and having interesting questions. I always look forward to your questions, and then when you get to be here, and I'm so glad that you got to be here. Jason? Oh, well, I knew you had a message there, and then it went away. Thank you so much, Epic. I appreciate that. You're right. I come on here at 5:59. So, because it means a lot to me to be here. I love being here with you all. So I hope you'll be able to, if you can't catch the live at 9 a.m. in the morning on Wednesday, I understand, but I hope you'll get to watch replay. And if not, y'all know y'all my Friday night date. So I look forward to seeing you Friday night. Okay? All right. Y'all ready to breathe, darlings? I'm ready to breathe. Take these glasses off. All right. What's this say? Yes. JR says, hi, Angela. All right. I'm going to catch those in let me look one more time, and then I'm going to, another film suggestion of, you haven't seen it, Weapons was really good. All right. Let me write it down so I will see it. Is it made by the same people? Weapons. Oh, I need to write that on here, not that. Weapons. Okay. Well, Stuart, on here, we're just pretty friendly and we're not trying to. So I appreciate you being here because, and you have a Buc-ee's thing for you, right? So he knows about Buc-ee's. So internet propaganda is rampant. So I really appreciate you all being here because I try not to promote that here. And so it means a lot to me for you to be here because I know you could be into that. And you're not. You're here with me and we're about to breathe, darlings. Alrighty, so here we go. Here we go. Here we grow. One more. I keep seeing one more. Geez, Jaded Waste is good night, y'all. Stay awesome. Stacy, I think I'm not the only one who appreciate you doing these lives. Aw, thank you so much. That makes my heart so happy. When I go to sleep tonight, y'all make it, I just go to sleep so happy. So thank y'all, because I probably will be out before too long. So I want to thank you all so much for being here tonight. And we're going to breathe and we're all going to get Jason Stillwell. Most kids dream of being athletes or actors, but as they grow, those dreams usually change and get more realistic. Parents need to let their kids dream. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let truth set you free. Hi, John, and let truth set you free. You have a good evening, too. Are you going to breathe with us, darling? We're only doing 5 breaths if you're new here. Thank you, Angela. That makes my heart so happy. Did you hear that, Grinch? He did. All right, here we go. We're going to do 5, y'all. Thank y'all so much. I just love you. Okay, so here we go. You going to breathe with us? He's playing with his toy. Okay, so let's just take a deep breath in. All the way into your tummy, shoulders open, your heart open, and hold it. And release gently and slowly. Breathe in. Hold it. And release. Breathe. Hold it. And release. Just 2 more. Breathe in. Hold it. And release. Last one. Breathe in. Hold it. And release. All right. All right. night then. Dr. Mark, I'm still vacational like Como. All right. Oh, very cool, Dr. Mark. How'd y'all enjoy that breathing? I wanted to say, Kim, are you still here, or Ramon? Yes. And y'all, if you get a chance, catch Dr. Mark's videos. He's got some amazing, beautiful singing of some classic songs. Oh, yes, you have a restful, peaceful evening, too. I was going to tell Kim is that, Ramon, there you are. Okay, because you know what I thought of when I was breathing? I thought of you in The Sound of Silence, that song. Do you remember? We talked about that, The Sound of Silence. So I was thinking about that. You popped in my head with The Sound of Silence. So, hello, darkness, my old friend. I come to talk to you again. All right. All right. Y'all have a great night, okay? Brilliant timing. We missed Nito. I know, right? Right, Epic? JR, you take care too. Thank you so much. Angela, thank you so much. I appreciate you. You have a wonderful week too, and I hope we can see you on Friday night if we don't get to see you on Wednesday. I know some people are working when I'm on Wednesday, so. All right. I love y'all. Thank y'all so much. Grinch does. Hey, Grinch, come tell everybody good night. Come tell them good night. There we go. He came out for a minute. Say good night. He's going to have golden milk with me. That's what we're going to do. Jason Stillwell, thank you. I appreciate you. Thank y'all so much. I sure do love you. Y'all take it easy too. Thank you for being here tonight, really. I appreciate it. Stay blessed all. Thank you. Grinchy, say night-night. Yeah. Peace to Grinchy. Say peace. Grinchy's Grinchin'. All right. Thank you all so much. Good night, Ramon. Good night, Angela. Good night, Epic. Thank you so much, Epic. Everyone give Epic a hand. Give him some hearts. Give Epic hearts for doing the moderation. Angela says good night, Grinch. Sweet dreams, Nato. All right. Good night, darling. I love you. Thank you, Kim. All right. You have a good one. Thank y'all so much. All right. Good night.